AB on the track, yeah. it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
Yo, look who's in the building. It's Kat, y'all. I know y'all been like, where's she been at? Where's she at? Y'all probably thought I had her in a closet locked up somewhere. Shout out to DJ Jordan Lee, rocking the sounds right now. The kind of sounds that don't get me flagged. Yo, I got Nate. Let me drop a bomb from Out of Control Bullies. Oh, I see you, Fred. Drop a bomb for you. Hey, this mix right here going in though. I'm liking it. Yeah. So tonight we're gonna talk about the math ain't mathin'. We're gonna talk a little bit about money and incomes and wealth and stuff like that. Not really wealth. We're just gonna talk about money, right? What's lower class? What's middle class? What's upper class? And there we go. Might have messed up my sound a little bit. Yo, Sean, what's going on? Now, when we talk about wealth building, we're going to have our man Sean Williams on drop a bomb for you. We got the DMV is in the building. Yo, what's up, Stray? I see you dropping a bomb for you. Yeah. Talking about creating or just understanding money so we can have a conversation about some other things that's going on in pop culture, right? You know, people want a bag, people want a drink bought for them. That's right, I got my grandmother's down there in Clarksville visiting the family right now. I'm gonna drop a bomb for you. What's going on, people? Yeah. Alright, let me change the playlist up so we can get serious. As I'm changing up the playlist, I'm gonna shout out Plugged In Customz, our sponsor right now. If you're in the DC area, you can check out Plugged In Customz at 4910 Buchanan Street, Hyattsville, Maryland, 20781. Get at them for all your car news, detailing. If you want to delete something off, if you want to add rims, if you want to get your tint done, they do it all and they do a great job. They do an amazing job. So hit them up if you're in the DC area. You can find them on IG at plug_in_customz with a Z, or you can email them at pluggedincustomz@gmail.com. Hit them up. They do great work. You know what I'm saying? Love those guys. They did a lot of great work for our car. So, you know, I'm not just telling y'all to go to somebody just because. These are the same folks I would go to myself. So I think that's important, right? Got some background music. Yeah, I got my man Asian Harold in the building. What's good, Mr. Esco? I'm gonna shout you out again later. I know your birthday coming up. See, we be tracking on the Nitty Gritty. We be tracking. We love our fans. You know what I'm saying? And our participants. In current news, and this is important. In current news right now, we have Game of Thrones is back out tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to try to make sure we wrap up just in time so y'all can get your popcorn.
You know, I don't know if we could say Game of Thrones. Because,
well, it's House of Dragon.
Right. But we got to let people know we are excited about it because it's the best TV show in history. But different producers, showrunners. So let's not give them all that just yet. Yeah, but we're excited. But we're going to be covering it. Kat and I together on Mondays at 9 p.m. Not like a full hour, but like a 15 to 30 minute conversation, recapping each show, getting your responses, reacting. So it's going to be dope. Some more content. You know what I'm saying? Sean said Terrence is excited. I mean, like, yeah, it's a great show. House of Dragons is going to be dope. I'm excited.
I seen some more, seemed like there's more black people in it. I'm all for that. You know what I'm saying?
Finally caught up.
Yeah. Like, they realize we're fans of fantasy too.
People didn't finally watch the series, you know.
Yeah, kind of like Lovecraft Country. You know, like Lovecraft Country is basically like Indiana Jones for black people.
It was good.
Black people, we like fantasy. We like Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff. We get into that stuff too. We watch Lord of the Rings the same way everybody else in the world was watching Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm saying? So let's not limit ourselves on how we entertain ourselves. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So that's all I have for current news. Obviously, football's back. So, you know, shout out to all my fellow Commander fans. Shout out to the Browns. I know you're not a Browns fan, so I'm not even going to try to play you like that. But y'all got Kaepernick.
I don't care.
So, if y'all win, though, If y'all win, see, you say you don't care, but if at the end of the year y'all come up off a Super Bowl,
I don't care.
I don't want you running around brown, because I'm gonna play this episode.
The thing is, Juan, when have I ever been like hype over football? Period.
Nah, I mean you're a basketball chick, which is true. Basketball, definitely a basketball chick. So that's true. She ain't laughing, y'all. She ain't laughing. The math is math in there. Katrina's definitely a basketball fan. But like I said, today we gotta talk about this trendy saying in pop culture, and you know. People from back in the day, you remember back in the 80s, going into like the early 90s, we had a show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And I think now because we got what? Housewives, you know all the shows.
Housewives, Love and Marriage Huntsville, Love and Hip Hop. What is it? What was the little like LA listings but the black version called? Tampa, something.
Selling Tampa or something like that. Yeah, right. So, you know, you got all these shows and I think, you know, you see these ladies. Hair did, nice bags, you know, they living it up, right? And I think everybody thinks like, oh, I gotta live that lifestyle too, but that's hard. That's hard. And I think sometimes when you talk about buying somebody a drink, when you talk about taking somebody on the trip, taking someone on a date, when you start talking about like trying to down somebody for what they're wearing, do we really appreciate the monetary values in this nation and how that sets you or includes you in certain aspects of society? We got to talk about that. So that's why we're going to break down this math. So let's examine some numbers in America. Before we even get started, I got to say this. A little bit of a math class real quick. So we're going to be, in this conversation, we're going to be talking about mean. We're going to be talking about median, right? Mean or average, same thing. We're going to talk about median. We're not going to really talk about mode so much, but these terms are going to be used in today's episode. So I think it's important that we understand what these terms mean. When you're looking at the mean or average, as you're used to, that's when you add up all the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers. So let's say if I have 6 numbers, right? I add all 6 numbers together and then I divide by 6 because I had a total of 6 numbers. Yep, we're breaking down the math. I know school is back for a lot of us. School come back in our area tomorrow, right? I think they were saying something. That's what Chantal said tomorrow.
For her school, but
for her school.
I don't know what.
If that's the whole area.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, school is coming back. So with that in mind, right? We're gonna do a little bit of math class. Then when we're looking at the median or the middle value in a list of numbers, to find the median, you have to write all your numbers from largest to small, from small to largest. And then you would look at all your numbers. Let's say you have 7 numbers. You would look at the 4th number and say, that's the median. Doesn't matter the value of all the numbers. It's just that that's the middle number, right? When you write them from lowest to highest, that's the middle number. Number 4 out of 7 numbers is the median number. So let's do some quick trivia. Here, oh, I'm sorry, and one last term, the mode is the value that occurs most often. So if no number is listed repeated, then there's no mode for the list. So we're going to do some quick math tests to see if you guys are paying attention. The person who can answer the fastest, so get your calculators out, the person who can answer the fastest will win $25 gift card. All right? So here's the numbers. 10. 11, 51, 400, 600, and 900. I'm going to say them again.
Say them differently so that people just...
I say it in descending order. It's going to be the same numbers every time. 900, 600, 400, 51, 11, 10.
At least I already got a number up.
So 10, 11, 51, 400, 600, 900. Those are your numbers. And I got some real mathematicians right here in the audience, right? Some of y'all are real good with numbers.
Okay.
All right. First, I want you to tell me what is the mode of the numbers I gave you. Then I want to know what's the median of all the numbers I gave you. And then I want to know the average or the mean of the numbers I just gave you. And those numbers, once again, 10, 11, 51, 400, 600, and 900. Why are you laughing at me?
You sound like you slow.
I sound slow. I'm saying it slow so people get the numbers right.
I get it. It was 11. 11.
All right, and I see Brent has an answer now.
Okay.
And then clarify what answer you're answering. So I see he has 11. Let me know if that's for the mode. I want to know the mode, the median, and the average of all these numbers.
Whoever gets all three first is
whoever gets all three first is the winner. So please try to quantify like what the numbers are.
Try to put all three in your answer.
Yeah. So we have mode. I need to know the median, and I need to know the average of all these numbers. And those numbers once again: 10, 11, 11, 51, 400, 600, 900. All right. So Brent has 11 in for the mode. He's leading right now. I'm gonna give y'all some more time, and it's important when we're talking about numbers. You're gonna see how this plays a part, because we'll see that sometimes politicians, various experts, when they're trying to prove a point, they'll say, "Oh, the median income of the average U.S. family is this." But then you'll see another thing where another study, another financial article, it'll say the average is this. So then there's like, when people are trying to justify their lifestyle or that they're doing better than what people are classifying them as. You have to know mathematically what numbers are being used, though. Are they saying average? Are they saying median? And that's important because, trust me, financially, they're looking at it this way. All right, I don't have any other answers. I'm just going to assume we have the one. I'm going to give y'all a little bit more time. It was 10, 11, 11, 51, 400, 600, 900. I wanted to know the mode, the median, and then the average. Now, parents, y'all gonna be on y'all kids this week talking about you better know your math. I got y'all on the hook right now, right? All right, I only have the one answer, and if I have some other ones come in, we'll see. Well, hold up. Brent said he has a mode of 11, median 51, and then he had the mean at 283.
You mean the average?
Mean average is the same thing.
Yeah.
At 283. Okay. And let me see. Anybody else answering? All right. Then I got Herman has mode 11, average at 330.5. Mm-hmm. All right.
He's just missing one.
He's not. You don't have an answer for the median though. And my numbers once again was a 10, 11, 11, 51, 400, 600, 900. All right. I don't know if I'm gonna get any other answers in. I'll give y'all a quick second. I knew Herman was on it. He's a mathematician, man. Mm-hmm. Herman, you sit there just punch numbers. So I remember my dad when he first started watching football. One of his favorite things to do was to look at the statistics and run the statistic numbers himself, instead of like waiting for them to post it on like NFL Network or Fox. He'd be one of those people with pen and paper. That was like a fun exercise and activity for him. So numbers was a big thing in the house. All right, I think those are my answers. I'm gonna let them stand right there. So I have two. All right, well, I have one person that answered fully, but I have two right answers from both. Basically, right. Is what it comes down to. So I'm gonna give, like a $10 gift card to both, right? So the answer was the mode is 11, right? Because we see it multiple times in the numbers, so therefore it is a mode. But then the median is 51. It was the middle number of all of the numbers I've listed. I had 7 numbers, but then the average of all the numbers is 330.5, and that's because if you add all the numbers together and divide it, you should get 330.50 or .5. So I'm gonna give thanks to Brent and Herman for participating. You'll both get a $10 gift card from us. So thank you guys for joining in on that. Now, I know you're like, well, is this going to be a math class for real? No, but it is going to be pertinent to the conversations we're having. So when we look at what was the median and average individual incomes in 2021 for women and men, what do y'all think that is? I'll break them down for you. In 2021, the median male earned $51,000, while the median female earned $39,000. However, the average male earned $73,000, and the average for women was $51,000, a little over, almost $52,000. Then when we look at what they did with this particular study, right? And this was done by Pew Research. They broke it down a little bit more. They started saying, well, let's look at the hours worked to figure it out. So then they went a step further. When they looked at men and women who work more than 30 or more hours a week, the median income was $59,000. Then the median for women was $47,000. And when they look at the average, it was $82,000 for men, $61,000 for women. Then when you look at people who work more than 40 plus hours a week, median income for men, $60,000, median income for women, $50,000, but the averages were still higher, $84,000 versus $63,000 for women. The reason why we're bringing up the matter of the amount of hours worked is when we start breaking down these numbers for the actual male and female workforce, we find that when you look at people working 40 plus hours a week, we have 67 million men in the US working more than 40 plus hours a week. And with women, they found about 51 million were. So that's around a 16 million gap in people. So when we start talking about pay equality, when you start talking about, well, who's doing better in life, there's so many factors we normally don't talk about. We just talk about the numbers at surface. But you really start thinking about how much time you're actually working, you find out that, oh wow, like I didn't even consider how many hours somebody is working a week. So you think about what, factories, retail, customer service, those numbers change a lot. I was surprised to find out, let me know if you're surprised by these numbers, Katrina. When they looked at looking at the top earners for males, if you were in the top 10% of earners if you made $151,000 a year. For women, you're in the top 10% if you make more than $103,000. Once again, if you're looking at the top 5% of male earners, if you made more than $206,000 a year, you're in the top 5%. For women, $142,000. Mm-hmm. And then if you're looking at the top 1%, that was men making more than $428,000 and women making around $263,000. Mm. So a lot of people say they a boss, but is the mathin'? So do you think the math be mathin'?
I think we have to put things into context. So when people say I'm a boss, typically there's people who are on social media or people who are influenced by reality TV. And typically those people, in my opinion, don't really have, not always, but I'm going to venture out of here to say they probably don't have financial acumen or literacy to know what true wealth means. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people think that they are doing so great once they hit six figures. And when I say six figures, I'm talking about 100,000. Not realizing that there's a whole other upper echelon to that six-figure, claim. So I think that when people say I'm a boss, I'm doing well, I think for a lot of people, sadly, it's I pay my own rent, I have a car, I have a steady income, and typically meaning maybe something 80,000 or more. And for most people in the U.S., that's I'm doing it, and I get it because a lot of people in the U.S. don't make good money relatively compared to the 1% in the top 5%. Yeah, right. Most people make what, I would say, the average income earner is what?
Oh, well, I have it right here.
Yeah.
So in 2021, because we want to talk recent numbers, a lot of people be like, that's from 98. We're doing so much better now. Well, let's be relative about it. So when we look at 2021, when we look at how many people made $100,000 or better, that was only about 23% of males, and around that number is around 19 million males. And then there was about 9 million, a little over 9 million women that made over 100,000. But that still only represents about 11.1% of women, right? Then if you want to break it down to more common numbers, if you look at 75,000, roughly that's about 29 million men at around 31% of working males. For women, that's about 16 million women at around 19, almost, well, might as well just call it 20% of working women. And if you drop it down to 50,000, you remember the song, if you got a $100 bill, put your hands up. You got a $50 bill, put your hands up. All right, so now we're down to 50,000. If around 47 million men, over 47 million men made more than 50,000, that's around 51% of men. And the average for men, the median for men is 51,000. Remember, the average for men was 70-something thousand, right? And then when we look at women, about 31 million 31 million plus women cleared $50,000 a year, and that's about 38% of working women.
So while I'm reading your comments, that's right, Katniss. Say it loud so people in the back can hear you. Thank you. Break it down, son. So while I think we reached a point in the conversation where people probably trying to understand, why we're bringing this up. Is it because people are always talking about bring something to the table? Like let's set the stage for the audience as to why we're talking about the math ain't mathin'.
So the reason why we're bringing it up, and we're going to bring up some more numbers too as we have this conversation, because there's a lot of people living extravagant lifestyles. I mentioned earlier in the show, there was a TV show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, right? Katniss brought up a lot of the different shows we have right now in pop culture. And what happens is we see people wearing $3,000 bags, Dior, they're wearing Givenchy, or how do you say it? I always say Givenchy, technically wrong. There's a proper way.
Givenchy.
Givenchy. See, my baby fancy. Givenchy, right? So people are wearing all these brands. People want to take all these elaborate trips. We see a lot of people traveling to different places. But then you got to ask, well, can we really afford that, right? Before you down the brother that's trying to buy you a drink, before you dismiss, the sister that wants to hang out, you like, ooh, she a bum. She basic. Maybe she's living within her basic needs of what she can afford, right? We're so judgmental, but then it's like, Herman said, not us here in Tennessee. Nah, in certain parts of Tennessee, they wearing Gucci.
Probably in like Nashville.
In Nashville and stuff. So, trust me, somewhere, someone's living above their means, even if it's cars. Somebody doing something.
It is crazy though, because even when we go to Tyson's, and I feel like when we walk into the Nordstroms, it's the
Neiman Marcus.
Or Neiman Marcus.
Yeah.
It's a whole bunch of black folks, which is fine. I'm okay with it. Doesn't mean we can't afford it. But I do think it's something to be said that when I go to Tyson's, majority of people are trying to go to that other part of the mall and Louis Vuitton line out the store, Gucci line out the store. And that's fine. But that, to me, is like, when you really compare yourself to a celebrity, people have to understand most celebrities are getting stuff for free. Like, Kim Kardashian is not spending a whole bunch of money for stuff. They're sending it to her for free.
Yeah. So once again, lifestyle of the rich and famous. Let's break down some more numbers, right? So what is a middle class income? We have two reports, one done by Pew Research and the other one done by George Washington University. So let's break this down. Let me see. Sean Williams said most of my tenants down in Memphis drove cars better than his.
I mean,
and I know that brother doing well.
I guess the question I have is, I think that people think that success and status is indicative of kind of like what you wear. Like, I feel like I know for a fact I've been judged because maybe I didn't have the latest or something, or I wasn't wearing certain things. And I think we really got to get out of the mindset of feeling like we know someone's success level based upon what they wear. Because you'll be surprised, there are a lot of millionaires that walk around here all the time and they really are not flashy.
No. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door and another one called The Millionaire Mind. And they both basically say the same things. They talk about the average cars that millionaires drive, their lifestyles. And you realize they're not extravagant. And when we start trying to define how do they come up with low income, middle income, and upper income, you realize it's not about how flashy you look. It's about how well you can address financial needs in your life according to the basic scale of living. They also take into account inflation and things of that nature. So once again, we got
Mama Jen.
Hey Mama Jen. So we got basically information from two different studies to bring all this information together. So what is middle class income? So according to Pew Research, they define middle class Americans as those whose annual household income is 2/3 to double the national median, adjusted for local costs of living and household size. And the reason why they look at the national median, because unfortunately the 1% of the nation they account for like 98% of the wealth in all of America. So they'll skew the numbers if we look at the average. It takes the average up. So that's why when you're like, so you mean the average man makes 70-something thousand? That don't seem accurate. It don't feel accurate because you're now counting men who are making millions of dollars a year. You're also looking at the women out there like the Hiltons and the Cardi B's and the Rihannas who are making millions. So that skews the numbers up because those few individuals make up for so much of the wealth if those numbers off. That's why I used the examples I did in earlier. You notice that the average ended up being like $300, like 300, but then the median was clearly 51. And those first four numbers are relatively low, but the other numbers were so high, it skewed it. That's part of the methodology as to why we use those numbers.
Wouldn't that also account for the huge gap there is between?
Yeah, the wealth gap. Yeah. So then the wealth gap skews the numbers to seem like they're higher than what they really are. That's why oftentimes when you're looking at it from a political lens, they use median because they want that to be like, hey, well, this is in the middle. These are most of the numbers we see, and then you're going to still get a median here. So once again, the median adjusted for local cost and living for the household size. So for a family of 3, that ranges from 52,000 to 156,000. And this is from a 2018 study, so they adjusted to 2021 based off inflation. So they're looking at low income is less than 52,000, middle income is 52 to 156,000, and then they consider upper 156,000, right? Another study, the one done at Georgetown, breaks it down even further. Right? He's looking at anything 32,000 or less is poor or near poor. If you're lower middle class, if you're somewhere between 32,000 and 53,000, he considers true middle class 53,000 to 106,000. Upper middle class was 106,000 to 373,000, and rich was considered anything more than $373,000 a year. Mm-hmm. People wonder, like, well, how did they come up with these numbers? These numbers, when you read the study a bit further, Mr. Rose brought it down to, Stephen Rose was the guy that did the study. He broke it down to how well these various income types can adjust for basic living over their heads, the average American lifestyle, meaning 1 vacation a year, 2 cars, assuming you have 2 earners in the household, and the ability to send your kids to public school, successfully clothed with the materials they need, also taking in consideration for health care, and then also looking at the possibility to send your kids to everyday public college education. We're not talking about the Harvards and the Howards and the Hamptons and the Yales. We're talking about the Austin Peay State universities like me, okay?
I know, so with this conversation, I know a lot of women on social media, a lot of these podcasts that roll up, they always say, I'm looking for a boss. I'm looking for a guy that can provide. And a lot of them are aspiring. You'll find out they would like to have a man that makes 6 figures or more. And these women typically do not want to work. Because it's one thing if you're both working and you both can make a household income of 6 figures or more. But if you don't work, then that 6 figures or more becomes lessened, and that becomes a bit difficult for you to make that money unless you are in an area where the average salary is higher, or you just have a go-getter individual. But we raise all this to say, I think that the fact that the expectation is for every guy to provide in a manner where it's, considered upper middle class? Mm-hmm. That's a tall order.
It is. As a matter of fact,
when it comes to dating,
Herman made a good point. He said, we are middle class income according to your data. We will thank you, Lord. And if you want to know exactly where you stand according to your area, right? Because I know some of you are thinking like, well, those numbers are so broad. What if I live in New York City? What if I live in the DC area? What if I live in LA? Well, here's the great thing. In this video, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, I have put in the link for pewresearch.org.interactives /r-u-n-the-middle-class. I have it listed in there. That's a lot of information to try to take on over.
I was like, what's going on right now?
But anyways, it's listed under sources for today's video, and I actually have 2 sources. One is for car payments. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But this one is to see whether or not you're middle class. It's going to ask you for the state you live in. It's going to then break it down to the metropolitan area. So like I looked at Tennessee, and it has like Chattanooga, Nashville, Memphis, Clarksville, all these different metropolitan areas. You pull in your metropolitan area. Then you have to list your household income before taxes. And don't worry, this is all anonymous. They're not going to know who you are putting this information in. And then you just got to list how many people are in your household. And then you hit calculate. And they'll let you know where your metro area stands in relation. First of all, it'll let you know what are you according to your area. And then it's going to let you know where your area stands in relation to the U.S. population. So if we're looking at New York City, Newark, New Jersey, if you made $120,000 a year as a household income with a family of 4, you're considered middle income tier, along with 49% of adults in the Newark, New Jersey area. Whereas the average is 52. So we know that Newark is not doing well financially in comparison to the rest of the country. But then when you look at their upper class because it's skewed once again because of all the people living in Hoboken and just outside of New York and in those areas. 21% of their residents are considered upper class, whereas the U.S. average is 19%. But then 30% of their people are considered lower, whereas the average is 29% for the U.S. So this is dope. Then if you want to take it a step further, because in Stephen Rose's research, they know that when we look at classism in America, it's not just about the money in your pocket. They also look at how well you socialize. So for example, then in step 2, they look at your education. Do you have less than high school graduate, 2-year degree or some college, or a bachelor's degree or higher? And then they look at these various age brackets, 18 to 29, 30 to about 44, 45 to 64, and then 65 and older. And then you could put down whether you're white, Hispanic, Black, Asian, or other multiracial. And then they ask for marital status.
I was gonna say, I think that the stats are important because if you are a woman who is desiring a certain lifestyle from a man, it may behoove you to go ahead and figure out look up what area are there a lot of men that make that kind of money. Then position yourself to be in that money if that's what you really on. Because if you're living in Alabama talking about I need a man that makes over 6 figures, it's just not going to be that many men running around, willing to just provide for you so you can stay at home. That type of lifestyle you'll find would be probably in the New York area, more than likely DC area, LA area. You might even have a few people in Texas, but it's not going to be in abundance. So I feel like if this is what you desire, you being a stay-at-home wife as an option, and having a man that is giving you a life of luxury, going on vacation every year, expensive bags, designer, maybe even having a nanny, you need to put yourself in position to meet the kind of men that are making that kind of money. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to tell you either way, or I'm not going to tell you how you should date, because at the end of the day, I don't judge what people want. Some people really are focused more about provisions versus character, and I feel like you should be able to date and get what you want, but I just feel like you need to have realistic expectations for the area that you're living in. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and then just to give you an idea, that's breaking down the numbers once again. If I'm looking at a single person making $120,000 in the Washington, Arlington, Alexandria area, household income of 1, right? If they're making $120,000, they would consider that person upper income tier, right? With along 32% of adults in that area, because a lot of people in this area are doing well.
It's not bad.
The U.S. average is 19, but meanwhile, the average person in the D.C. metro areas, 32% of them are in this, in this bracket of wealth, right? Then if I was to take it a step further and say, okay, this person has a bachelor's degree or higher, so let's say they got a master's degree. A lot of folks like Kat run around with master's degrees in the DC area, real smart people. Let's say they're black. Let's say they're young though, 18 to 29. This is more likely to be somebody, if you got your degree, probably closer to 27, but just look at the age, the 18 to 29 bracket, and not married. According to that, those statistics, bachelor's degree, black, 18 to 29, not married, more than likely, someone with that education, age, race, and ethnicity and marital status, 22% are more likely to be lower income, 61% are likely to be middle income, and 18% are likely to be upper income. So ladies, you're talking to 100 guys, and they meet these stats. That means more than likely 61 of them are going to be middle class in this area, right? Because this is not accounting for the money. This is just looking at your education, your age, your race, and marital status. Based off those factors alone, most men in the DC area would end up being middle class with those stats. That's the money they say that they would make.
So I have a question of what, given inflation, given how things are expensive like gas, if you had to give advice to young men out there, and they say, I want to be a provider, I want to take on everything, and they haven't even hitting what is it, age 50, because 50 is when you earn your max income potential. What advice would you give them?
So when we do the research, and this was another study done by Pew, what they found is that men are at their highest earning potential right now in America from age 34 to 57 is when you could get your largest pay hikes, right? Most millionaires don't become millionaires until the age of 51 right now in America, right? But the area that you can make your highest income for males, we're looking at 34 to 57, right? The reason why we see a drop off after 57 because people start retiring, age, unfortunately, your body starts breaking down. Maybe you can't work as hard. So we see some men end up going part-time after 57. They just can't put in the same work they did when they were once young. So I always recommend to men that age, if you really want a family, you need to be about your mid-30s or better. If you're trying to roll the dice for the best result, you should wait till you're like in your mid-30s as a man to settle down and get married. Because that's when you're in your best position to actually finance and have a family. Before then, it's kind of a tough road. You're gonna have a tough go of it.
But I guess the question I'm asking is that a lot of women are looking at housewives and they're seeing that these women don't have to work. So if you're not working, should your expectations then be lowered?
Well, you gotta understand, like, are you going to pull the kind of guy that makes this money? And this is why I like this Pew Research calculator, because when you look at class-wise, the kind of people you need to be around to find folks that make this kind of money, that changes a lot of things. If you realize that the people who are making good money, more than likely, not saying all the time, but more than likely, they have a certain level of degree, they're hanging around a certain amount of people, that makes a difference. Prime example, a law student may earn a modest graduate student stipend of $20,000 per year, currently placing her in low income class, but her educational attainment and future earnings will most likely catapult her income and class placement to a higher level down the road, right? So also you got to understand who you're communicating with. If you're building your friendships and your networks in college and you're around people who are in fields of study where those fields of study are going to give a certain amount of money, then chances are your future outlook is you can probably find a man making that kind of money because you play as AKA, you play as Delta, you join this professional organization or that professional organization, so you're around professional males that have the greatest chance of earning that kind of income, so you to marry that kind of man are more than likely, right? But I hear a lot of ladies talking about, and I hear some men too say the same stuff. I ain't trying to deal with nobody like that. But what are you doing? What's so sophisticated about you? What about you is going to garner the attention of someone in that class of communication?
Well, I mean that, and then I also feel like people's ambitions and goals kind of stem from how they were raised or what they saw. So for me, both my parents worked. My mom worked, my dad worked. So I always saw my mom working. I never saw her, at home waiting on us. Our grandparents supported us when needed. So I always knew, like, okay, well, I'm probably going to be the kind of person where I'm going to work too. But then again, I have friends who say, my mom did it all. She struggled. So I vowed that when I get an adult age, I'm going to be a man who can provide. So that way I don't have to struggle and my family doesn't have to struggle. So I can understand why people go into these situations with their expectations, but I think that social media and housewives and these TV shows have done a lot of folks a disservice because it's always like, well, what can you do for me? It's always, what you bring to the table. Like that's the main conversation. It's always about money, and I feel like even if you are at a certain income level, let's say you make over 100,000, depending upon where you go, that still may not necessarily give you access to a certain group of folks. And what I mean by that is that income is not indicative of sophistication.
Yeah. Or
having the ability to be in certain circles and actually receive information, retain it, and apply it. No offense, and I hate to say it, but like look at, the city girls. They got a lot of money. You on a whole podcast talking about what we is.
And that's the thing when you look at.
I don't want people to say I'm policing, people, but there's respectability politics. It's not about that. It's just about wanting more for yourself. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's why the show used to be The Lifestyles of Rich and Famous. I'm gonna go back to this a lot because famous people don't necessarily have to be sophisticated. They just may rap really well. They may throw a ball. They may act right. They do all these different things, and that gets them in a certain. That gets them a certain level of success, right? Because this, once again, we're not talking about wealth right now today. We're just talking about income levels. So, you talk about rich. We're not saying wealthy because that means rich over succession over a few generations of family, right? We're just talking about the difference of being rich, middle class, whatever, and what does that lifestyle really mean? And so when you start talking about a conversation that came up recently this week, this whole buy you a drink thing. They talked about it on the Breakfast Club with Tank. Somebody else said it. So then there was this idea of like, when you buy a girl a drink, does that mean she owe you conversation? Does she owe you, your time? So when we look at these numbers we talked about, the average drink in the club, from what I understand, is about $26 in most major metropolitan areas. And then you even have some ladies that were going around saying, you got to buy me and my friends a drink. And like I told Katrina, these girls, they run around in packs of 3 and 4. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's a little over $100 to buy the girl you're interested in, and all the friends a drink. And there's no guarantee she's going to give you any conversation, right? And then you're not entitled to that conversation, men. We're not. So you're running the dice if you're trying to meet somebody in the club, but that's your first problem. But you're buying her and her friends some drink at the day party, at the club, wherever you guys are at. But for the average man, that means, you're making somewhere around $25 an hour if you're looking at the median income, right? $25 an hour would get you $52,000 a year, assuming you're working 40 hours a week. So you would have to work just about 6 hours, not really including taxes. You would have to work about 6 hours in order to buy them a drink. That's almost a whole day of work just to buy a chick a drink.
It's not worth it. We got some comments. Your dad said mid-30s. Wait, I missed it. Yeah, mid-30s is the ideal age for men. Christopher McKinney said there needs to be more value placed on stay-at-home parents. Mm-hmm. And then Sean said real rap. And then Mamie said I agree. The TV shows and media give them a great disservice. I tell my nephews fame and fortune are 2 different things. Yes, Katrina, you're going to be greatly influenced by your parents, good or bad. For people, especially with folks that are wanting to accomplish for themselves, there is a reason that they call themselves television and programming. So my thing is,
Sean made a good point. Tax is going to eat that income up. We're not even talking about taxes yet.
So I think there are 2 things I want to make a point, unrelated. The first one being, if you're going to desire a luxury lifestyle, again, this goes back to the comment I made earlier about doing your research. And my thing is, why go to a restaurant, talk about something? Yeah, I want that salmon.
Yeah, at least learn how to say salmon, right?
But that's what I'm saying. If you want to be in Greece and this, maybe pick up. You ain't gotta know how to speak Greece, but maybe know a few words. You know what I'm saying? Just try to. If you desire this thing, there is, sometimes it's even with a job. When you get in a new job, you learn the job. You're uncomfortable because you're growing, you're stretching. Try to at least figure some things out before you decide you want to desire. You going into talking about salmon. I mean, you want to be in a luxury restaurant. I would hope that you would know how to say salmon.
Know how to pronounce the food.
Okay, and then 2, for stay-at-home parents being valued, I definitely think that there is value in being a stay-at-home parent. My mom and other women have even told me that, as your kids are young, it's important for someone to be a nurturer there in their early years. My thing is that if you're going to desire to be a stay-at-home parent, I don't think it's right to ask your husband, who might only make $60,000 a year, for a vacation every year in Louis Vuitton bag. I think that's not realistic with the income he's bringing in. Maybe you guys can only afford an apartment, but you're asking him for a single-family home that costs $900,000 a year. Again, and I think that what happens is there's so much pressure put on men to provide a lifestyle that they see on TV. Here's the gag, y'all, that maybe y'all didn't realize. A lot of these folks on TV can't even afford the lifestyle that they're trying to do. No. They're renting homes out. They're having stylists that are giving them clothes, and their job is to shout them out on Instagram so they're able to wear these things, but they really don't own the things. So you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses don't even keep up with the Joneses.
Man, tell it, preach it. Let me you know what I'm saying? Oh my God. And then looking at the income, once again, the reason why they define poor to near poor, lower middle class, upper middle class, and rich is because of what these people what they can afford in the lifestyle. So when you do the research, if you read further into the article, when they look at what poor is and near poor, that means you can barely afford basic necessities. Basic necessities being food, shelter, and clothing, right? Lower middle class says you can barely afford to live. But like one bump in the road, I'm talking about they charge you too much at the grocery store and you're literally at risk of your lifestyle. Middle class is you can do basic living. You can afford housing, shelter, clothing, I mean, shelter, food, and clothing, right? And maybe you can have a few of simple luxuries, meaning, maybe your family could do pizza night. You could buy your kids an Xbox. Maybe you could take that one vacation. Upper middle class is basically saying you can afford food, shelter, clothing. You can enjoy some amenities of life. You can take that vacation, and you probably have you have options of where you want a vacation. Mind you, upper middle class is defined as $106,000 to $373,000 household income. And they're saying that's when you get to the point where it's like you can afford luxury brands, you can afford to take multiple vacations. The lifestyle you see most people perpetrating on Instagram is basically an upper middle class lifestyle or a rich lifestyle, meaning if you're rich, life problems come your way, you can pay them, no problem. You don't have to figure out, okay, how am I going to pay this medical bill? You actually have the money to pay the medical bill. It means you can take and fly first class to Greece or to South Africa, or you can go eat at the finest dining. You can wear luxury brands regularly. You can shop at Neiman Marcus. You can get your hair done every week with the best stylists. That's an upper middle class or a rich lifestyle. Keep in mind that's defined as $106,000 to $373,000 or above $374,000 a year.
I would even say I want to read this comment. The Joneses are broke, are all over this country. Can I get a bass bomb, y'all? And then Sean said the other thing is wealth and fortune comes from being out of your comfort zone. So true. So these people are pushing themselves. They're not going to ever leave their comfort zone. Yeah, that's facts. I was going to say when you were just talking about flying first class and things like that, I would even say what you do pre-kids is going to be different than when kids are here.
Exactly.
So meaning I might go and buy luxury based upon income bracket, right? But if a child or children come into the picture, that means that now my expectations of what I like may have to shift because now I am provisioning for more humans versus just me and you going and catching a flight. Like I feel like I want to make the caveat here. I don't want this show to be. I don't want the perception to be made that potentially people who look like us can't afford and enjoy luxury, because that's not true. They can. All I'm saying is that I think everybody should understand your household income, understand your expectations, and then do the math to see if they align. I guess one other example is that for people who don't know, me and my husband, we share a car. Mm-hmm. We can afford 2 cars. But why? We live right next to the train.
And that's part of the reason why we live here. Part of the reason why we had to pay more for our place. So, but that's part of it. And even when you look at the Pew Research calculator that's listed here in the show, you see it in the description. Whether or not you're middle class or upper class, sometimes defined, that's why they look at 4 things. Your state, your metropolitan area, your household income before taxes, and then they're looking at people in the household. So to Katrina's point, X amount of dollars might make you upper income in one stance, but then add a few more members to that family, and now you're considered middle.
Dang.
Right?
That's crazy.
Something else, right? So when we look at luxury living, I actually put some numbers down. Vacations to the Caribbean average about $5,000 for a family of 4. That's assuming you're doing a week-long vacation in the Caribbean.
Wow.
The average cost, considering food, flight, hotel stay, you're going to spend about $5,000 for a family of 4. If you're going with a couple, that's about $3,000 per couple.
So $2,000 for kids. You added
another $2,000 to add in kids.
For kids.
And then they're taking into account that when you're there, your activities change. So when it's kids, it's more so cheaper, more wholesome family activities. The reason why it's not just cut in half when you say 2 people, because adults are going to drink, adults may do more excursions and activities. So then we find that the averages are normally around $3,000, and that's still a rough range when I was looking for those numbers, because obviously when people are trying to get your money, they're advertising it as, oh, those just $59 a day. And when people are just trying to be honest about, hey, if you're going to stay at an all-inclusive at a really nice resort with great customer service, you may spend more than that. So what we found is it's an average about $5,000 for a family of 4 and about an average of $3,000 for a couple, assuming you're traveling for 7 days, 8 days, 7 nights.
And this goes back to Sean's point when he was saying about growth. So if let's say you do have a family of 4, And for most people, they're gonna be like, "Dang, this is expensive." But let's say for the other mindset of someone who hears that number, they might say, "That's no big deal. I have points. I have a travel credit card." This goes back to growth. So when you take the time to understand how you accumulate wealth, how you can travel and get luxury and not spend a whole lot, that now you're growing and learning from other people, or you're inquiring to do your research, or inquiring to have knowledge building, so that when you do have your kids, you can still maintain your luxury lifestyle with 4 versus taking a step back. Whatever works for you and your family, I feel like that should be your decision. It shouldn't be what the internet is telling you or what social media is telling you. You should do what is best for you and your family. If it means, when the pandemic first hit, we weren't where we were, so we had to eat in all the time. We couldn't have DoorDash. We couldn't eat out. We was literally saving.
Yeah.
Sean says everyone's stunting on the gram, but when they die, all I see is GoFundMe, and that's real. It's like you got all the Gucci.
Someone lying.
Yeah, you got all the Gucci, all the Louis Vuitton, all this extra stuff, but then you don't even have things in order to bury yourself or your loved ones. That's crazy to me. Your dad said the first drink I bought your mother was a Brandy Alexander. That was definitely upper middle class. Because 6 figures isn't what it once was, and it's not.
It's not.
I think that. Correct me if I'm wrong when you said that comment. I'm believing you're saying 6 figures. The needle has moved.
Yeah, it's gone up.
Yeah, it's gone up.
Yeah. Like, it's to live a certain kind of way. 6 figures doesn't give you the lifestyle that it once did in the 1980s. The numbers we're presenting today are based off inflation, and everything has its led us today. Back in the day, making $100,000 in 1995, that might have been the equivalent to making $250,000. That would have made you upper middle class. But these days, that's really just middle class living.
But I also think the world is getting smaller.
The world, so people are exposed to more.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You took the words right out of my mouth, boo. Yes, people are exposed to more, and people desire to see more of the world. I have family members that have never left Cleveland.
Yeah.
Ever. They've never even gone Southern Ohio. That's crazy to me. But here I am with passports, and they telling me, be careful. They can snatch people up. They be scared for me to fly and experience things.
But they never been. And then, and the funny thing about it is, I think there's just not a value for money in general, right? People know that you can make a lot of money, but then they still don't value it. Or sometimes they don't realize how blessed they are. Prime example, I was talking to a friend, and they made it, and then I actually seen a post on Facebook recently, and both were basically saying the same thing. Like, I'm just not dealing with a dude that if I want a $2,000 or $3,000 bag, if I tell you in January and my birthday's at the end of the year or for Christmas, a lot of these young ladies, not just them, a lot of young ladies feel like, if I tell you at the beginning of the year I want a $3,000 bag, you should be able to get it. But once we really break down the numbers of what people can afford, is that possible? If the average man is making $73,000 a year, after taxes, if you take around 35% away, that's only about $4,000 a month. And then the average living cost for most single people is around $3,600 a month. That's considered food, shelter, clothing, assuming that you may have a small car note, something like that. But then this another article was saying you need to adjust around $1,500 to another $2,500 a month for luxury living. So you're dating an average guy. He already barely makes enough to survive. If he decides to date you, right, that's all that extra money that should have been savings or anything else. You're literally taking all of that. If the brother only makes $4,000 a month after taxes, and he has a lifestyle, the basic lifestyle of most single people is $3,600, he only has $400 to date you with. Where was he supposed to put another $200 to $300 aside to buy you a $3,000 bag? But here's the power of joining together and getting married. If he makes $73,000 and you make $52,000, if you go to live with him, whether you get married and you guys rent a place together, he's already been affording enough to put a roof over his head. Maybe he owns a small condo or a townhouse, a small ranch style home. He then took off $3,600 a month off your budget, or at least $2,000, maybe $3,000, because now we're sharing that bill that he basically provides for himself. We're sharing the cost of food that he normally provided for himself. You may add a little bit more, but together you have so much more. But a lot of women will walk away from an average earning guy because they want a $3,000 bag. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine if you do it. No, catch me. She's laughing because she knows where I'm about to go with it. That's fine if you want to walk away from the average earner guy because you want a $3,000 bag at the end of the year. But now we got to have a Kevin Samuels conversation. And now I gotta ask you, boo boo, of the 23% of men making that kind of money, how many of them will want you? Overweight, bad attitude, no sophistication. No, let's keep it 100 because we know that the chances, if we're rolling the dice, the people who make that kind of money have a certain level of sophistication and class about them based off school and all that kind of stuff, right? So then you got to ask, if I can have almost whatever kind of woman I want, why do I want the overweight junk that ain't that cute? See, that hurts, right? It sounds mean. It sounds rude. Well, that's how men feel when it's like, man, I earn average income. I'm doing the best I can with what I got. You already want me to buy a $26 drink for you and your 3 friends, and then you got the nerve to tell me you want a $3,000 bag at the end of the year. What kind of men afford this? I'll tell you what kind of men afford this. The ones who are upper middle class by themselves, making $106,000 to about $373,000 a year. Brothers who are balling. That means these are doctors, lawyers, anesthesiologists. Some of the,
okay, so I know we're getting ready to go over time. So I just want to say, I want to make the preface, and I want to ask the audience, what exactly is your goal when dating? Because if your goal when dating is just to have a good time, no, it's an important question. The reason why I'm asking that is because if my goal when dating is to get to know you, then I'm not going to expect you to pay for dinner every single time, buy me and my friends drinks, or buy me a $3,000 bag. If my goal is to get married, I'm not going to expect those things. I mean, granted, maybe that's me, but what I'm saying is I'm going to put things into perspective based upon your station, my station, and our collective goals. I don't know if dating to make you feel good, but I don't know. I feel like this argument goes in circles because you got these men there was just a new guy out on the internet the other day. He spent all this money. He said he spent 5 G's on this girl, flew her out. She got flued out. Okay. he flew her to some exotic place, treated her well, and then he expected her to give up the butt. She said no. He was offended. And the girl was saying, just because you spend this money doesn't mean you should expect me to give it up. And that's true. But it's like, what are these expectations? First of all, why is it so hard for guys to get booty? Okay, why you gotta spend 5 G's on booty? It's because you know what the problem is? It's because they're going for girls who are out of those girls are not attracted to them. They know it. So they're spending this money thinking, oh, all of a sudden they're going to like me. No, you need to date girls who look like you.
Yeah. And that's what's going on. That's true on both sides. Fellas, you spending all that money in the club and she still ain't giving you no attention. At the end of the day, it ain't your pockets is short, bro. She just not attracted to you. And you got to go with now, but also to ladies. You can't get commitment from a certain type of guy that looks a certain type of way. That's because he could do better. And he know he can, so that's why he gonna settle for you. It worked both ways. He said I had to drive back to the airport. Yeah, they get mad because they're what's the word? Is it called? Am I saying this right? It's tricking when you putting money out for a girl, right? Yeah, it's called tricking. Okay, when you spending money. So they're tricking for the girls that they can't afford. Okay, these they can't pull them naturally through conversation and whatever, or for looks, whatever. Yeah. These girls typically know they're cute and attractive, and they're looking for a certain kind of guy to be a certain level or look a certain way. And so these guys are like, well, I feel like I deserve that kind of girl. And when these girls ain't giving them no play, now they're saying, I spent all this money, I deserve for you to give me some butt. So they're thinking I should be able to bag that girl. And I think the problem that I think is going on with both men and women is that people are just so arrogant. Everybody's so overconfident. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good to be confident, but every time I look around, I'm beautiful and fabulous. I'm sexy. I think I'm a 10. I'm like, well, dang. Y'all got some serious confidence out in these streets. And let's keep it 100 too. That's because also people are not valuing that man's money. My thing is, listen, you know you're not attracted to Slim. Don't accept the drink. Be like, no, boo, I'm good. Don't get flued out. What y'all say, flued out? The term is flown out. But y'all say flued out, right? Don't let him fly you out. If you're not attracted to this man, because no man is spending $5,000 just to take you out on a good time and be a nice guy. He's trying to get some butt, alright? He's trying to get some draws. He ain't doing that for free. And if you value your brothers, you would let them know, like, hey, listen, don't spend this kind of money because you think we're gonna have sex. If you want to just find friends, there's some nice girls in your area. Coach these brothers up to a better lifestyle because they jaded. They're thinking the wrong thing. And if you value money, when you talk about the money we talked about today, you realize $5,000 ain't no cheap purchase.
And then the thing is, what was the conversation prior to her packing the bag and getting on the plane? Like
were your expectations clear? Like King said in the Breakfast Club at the drink.
Yeah.
Make it clear. Hey, can I buy you a drink and talk to you? Not just can I buy you a drink. Because then, if you say it just like that, fellas,
she gonna take that drink.
She can just take the drink and you can be like,
and turn right to her friends. Oh, thanks, boo. Girl, let me tell you. ... But I also feel like when you're approaching a girl of 2 or more, that makes things awkward because now it's like, well, if they're her real friends, then they should be happy for her to get that attention and have her one-on-one time. That's typically not what's happening.
No.
You got girls who be like,
somebody gonna hate him.
He look broke. He da.
And fellas, let me throw this in there. And fellas, there's always that one ugly or big friend.
Oh my God.
There's always that one ugly or big friend. Not saying that every ugly big girl act like this, but typically what I've seen back when I was single, you go out and about, is that one ugly or big friend that's so protective of all her friends. Like, who are you trying to talk to, my friend? Don't be trying to talk to my friend. We don't want your little drink. Go ahead, go away. But that's the really it is that she's jealous. He's like, dang, another dude that went to talk to her. Another one that wanted to go talk to Susie. They never want to talk to me. So now I'm going to pretend that I'm protective of Susie because I'm jealous of Susie. And fellas, that's real game. It be happening. Katrina going to say otherwise because it's not always the case. It's not always the case.
But
it happens.
But I also think too, one thing that at one point I didn't make is that, okay, so you do desire, let's say you desire a wealthy man, and I'm going to just put a man that makes $200,000 and more, or $300,000 and more. I don't know what that's considered, at that point that's considered wealthy, right? $300,000 and more? Okay, what type of personality will this man have? Typically, I can't prove this as factual, but it seems to be that these kind of men that are making that much money are pretty much, you do as I tell you to do. I'm providing. This is how I want it.
That's an A-type all day long if he earned that kind of money.
And yet I might have other girlfriends. You get over it because you live in a lavish life. I'm not saying that they're cheaters, but it seems to me when we're hearing about these celebrities, it's always like they man is cheating. So it's like, why do you want that kind? Well, that's the thing. Look at Beyonce and look at Jay-Z. Like, Beyonce is gorgeous. Jay-Z, people say not so much. But
he got a lot of money.
So he's got a lot of people throwing things at him, which is a lot of temptation, and a lot of men that might be ego booster. I'm not saying it's okay, but what I'm saying is, I just think everybody needs to know what they look like, know what kind of money they make, and then know what kind of goals they have for their lifestyle. If you're superficial, you're going to get a superficial relationship. Okay? If you are money driven, you're going to get a relationship where your only value is money. So the moment that you lose a job, now you're no longer valuable to that person. If that's what you're leading with. Yeah. You should be able to lead with character, fundamentals, morals, true goals. I just think that, again, I think for both men and women, everybody is just unrealistic with really what they look like and what they got.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people walking around feeling themselves, I'm this. I know some of these guys will be thinking like, they are that. It's like, bro, you got hips.
Oh, and
what's going on?
Let me address that real quick. Two people, like, I'm talking to my people right now. Everybody does it. This happens in white communities, Latin communities, Asian communities as well. But I'm talking to mine right now, all right? I'm talking to us. I don't want to hear any of you, male or woman, say, I ain't dealing with these black guys no more. I ain't dealing with black women no more. Excuse me. If Billy and Becky weren't paying you no mind yesterday, they're not going to pay you any mind today. If Becky was clenching her purse every time she saw you, what made you think you was about to run to white girls? Sisters, if Bob is walking right past you every day at work, you can't run to white men. They're not attracted to you. You attract the black aesthetic. So you not just need to find a good brother within your community, because the Asian brothers ain't looking at you, checking for you. If they not trying to hit at you right now at Target, if they not hitting on you right now when you out and about, then they not checking for you. So stop acting like you can just leave black men and run to them. Same thing for brothers. Them Latino girls ain't paying you no mind right now. So what make you think you could go run and get you a Latino girl?
I guess the question I have is, why are people offended by people that find them attractive in their station? Why is that offensive?
People, at the end of the day, listen. nothing in life is free, and everybody want more than what they can afford. But understand where you stand in life, and you listen. You have to play with the cards you're dealt. It's not that we can't create wealth. It's not that we can't build money. We're going to talk about that more here soon with Sean Williams.
It's not that you can't lose weight or look better or get a weed.
But this show is just talking about where people are. It's just, listen, there's a status of where people are currently. And you got to understand that. Not everybody who's rich is going to stay rich if they don't manage their money correctly. So that's a different conversation. We're going to have that conversation with Sean Williams here soon. But just looking at where people are, just understand where things are, and based off where you are currently, you may not be able to get a Louis bag. Well, but it doesn't mean you can't aspire to make the money to put yourself in position to really afford it.
Chris said, look like you are. He thought that was so fun. He laughed. Then, ouch, the Nitty Gritty Show was on point today. They keeping it real raw and 100. Chris said, I was looking for someone who would tackle the world's problems with me, build with. I love it. Sean said they don't value commitment because they don't have options. Wow. Wow, that's a profound comment right there. It's true. Sean said, "Be careful what you ask for." Thank you, Katrina. The character will always trump money. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I am going to Christopher's comment. I got what wanted to build, but I'm also of the mind that if something were to happen in a season of life, I can adjust.
Yeah, you got to be able to make that adjustment based on where you are. So, listen, that was basically what we want to talk about on the show today. I want to go to some quick announcements. So, I'm going to play some cool music right now.
Did you want to read one last comment? It was Brent's.
Brent said, because poor people think they are more than what they think, more than what and or who they are. That's true. And there's nothing wrong with aspiring for more, but, do that within reason. You know what I'm saying? Do that within reason. So I'm going to leave out with some DJ Jordan Lee playing in the background. So, shout outs. Once again, thank you everyone that came out to my great aunt Mary Ann Thompson's passing. They had church up in that joint. Grant, Justin, they preached up in that joint and they sang, and she literally had a celebration in the homegoing. So thank you all of those that came out. I know, Grandma, that was your best friend. That was your sister. We're going to miss her dearly. But, once again, everybody, thank you for coming out. All your flowers and your prayers. We really appreciate it as a family. Also, don't forget, I am Mr. L7. You can find me on Twitch. TNGS _ Mr. L7. I'm going live with cool music like this in the background. We're playing GTA, Warzone, PUBG. It's a party whenever we go live, so make sure you check us out. Also, House of Dragon is probably just started. If you got HBO Max, you can always.
It's 10 o'clock, no?
It's 9 p.m. Eastern, but
it's time for us to wrap it up.
Yeah, but we're gonna watch on HBO Max and start it from the beginning, so it's no problem. But don't forget, we're gonna do a reaction video tomorrow talking about the show. So make sure you follow us here first for all your House of Dragon reaction videos. Birthdays. Want to shout out Don DaCosta. Want to shout out Kenya Small. Shout out to my Uncle Ralph Coates. Shout out to my man Hassan McRae. Shout out to my cousin William Thompson. And then shout out to my man Curtis Esco, aka Agent Harold. And last but not least, we want to shout out my aunt Deborah Gibbs. I know you watching. Drop a bomb for you, boo.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And also want to shout out my sister-in-law, Jasmine Altar. No, your birthday's in 4 more days. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. You know, you must leave that off. I only came off strong because I thought you was going to come up strong because you be in the choir. All right, but listen, happy birthday to y'all. Thank y'all for watching. All right, look, we're going to be bringing y'all more content on money and plenty more. Also, we always celebrate Black Love. We won't be any show next Sunday because we're going to be celebrating with Michael Roy and Chardonnay Wilson as they tied themselves together in their mutuals.
They're getting married.
August 27th. So we're going to be there to celebrate with them. So
they seeing my mom and dad.
And we're going to be seeing Mike and Jen. They've been married for 43 years. So we're going to spend some time with them and some of our Cleveland family. So won't see you guys next Sunday. We will go live that following Monday, though, for Game of Thrones talk. So, yeah, look, they give you hair compliments and all that stuff.
Thank you. You know, I try from time to time. No, I'm just playing. Thank you.
Look, so once again, thank you guys for watching. If you want to check out that Pew Research calculator, it is in the description. Also, there's a CarMax one that I listed too, because a lot of people have luxury cars. The average luxury car payment, by the way, is $1,083. Because the average luxury car went for about $64,000 last year. So for all those people that want BMW, Mercedes, Buick, Volkswagen, Genesis, Lexus, those are luxury cars, and on average, people are spending about $64,000 for
I'm gonna be driving Sammy.
Hey, that Nissan Sentra doing
that
good.
Sentra been
on point. Look, thank you guys once again for watching. It's your boy Jay DaCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
And together we are
the Nitty Gritty.
We out, y'all. Thank you. Be blessed.
Thanks.